When a relationship starts grinding to a halt, the cultural reflex is almost automatic. It's time to go to couples therapy. It's treated as the ultimate responsible failsafe, the final attempt to fix the machine before it breaks for good. But even with highly trained experts, practitioners often report a lack of positive outcomes for the couples involved. Instead of a clear resolution, many sessions lead to a prolonged stalemate where the same patterns are repeated at a higher hourly rate. Why does a psychological framework specifically designed to heal relationships so consistently fail the humans inside them? The structure of the room itself is the problem. Every session involves three distinct entities: you, your partner, and the relationship between you. The therapist's loyalty lies with that third entity. You are not the client, the relationship is. This hidden misalignment of incentives dooms the therapeutic process from the start. The interests of the individuals are immediately subordinated to the survival of the dynamic. Because the relationship is the client, the therapist's primary objective is to perpetuate the union. The goal is to keep it alive, even if the dynamic itself has become an obstacle to the well-being of the people involved. This preservation instinct prevents the delivery of blunt, necessary feedback. A therapist working for the relationship is unlikely to tell a man he needs to get away from a toxic partner, or tell a woman she is wasting her time with someone who will never commit. Those truths might end the relationship, the very thing the therapist is hired to protect. Instead of truth, the process relies on negotiated concession. It operates on the belief that if both sides give up a little bit of what they want, the relationship can keep functioning. But negotiation fails when one party behaves like an emotional terrorist. If a partner uses tantrums, bullying, or threats to get their way, they aren't looking for a fair trade, they are looking for control. Bringing an emotional terrorist to the bargaining table is a mistake. When you offer concessions to someone who behaves badly, you reinforce that behavior. You are essentially teaching them that high-conflict tactics are an effective way to get what they want. By treating manipulation as a valid negotiation point, the system rewards the very behavior that makes the relationship dysfunctional. This structural failure is most apparent when couples try to address a lack of intimacy. Desire cannot be negotiated. You cannot trade a clean kitchen for a genuine spark. When intimacy becomes a transaction, it ceases to be intimacy. It becomes a chore. Attraction requires mystery, spontaneity, and a sense of individual autonomy. These are the exact qualities that a highly structured, hyper-communicative therapy session tends to flatten out in favor of processing and understanding. This leads to the myth that more communication is always the solution. In reality, raw truth is difficult to deliver, and even harder to hear. Delivering a harsh reality to one person is a challenge. Delivering it to two people simultaneously is nearly impossible. To prevent one partner from immediately shutting down or becoming defensive, the truth is often diluted until it is too soft to affect any real change. To maintain the peace required to keep the relationship alive in the room, reality is watered down until it loses its power. We have to move past the idea that understanding why someone behaves badly is the primary goal of therapy. Understanding a tantrum doesn't make the tantrum stop. Explaining away bad behavior based on past trauma often just shifts the blame, making the victim responsible for holding space for the aggressor. If you are in a relationship with a destructive partner, the most effective work happens when you look in the mirror. You have to identify the unhealed emotional wounds that left you vulnerable to that individual in the first place. Individual therapy addresses this directly. By focusing on your own healing rather than the survival of a third entity, you resolve the internal conflicts that kept you stuck. When you are no longer vulnerable to manipulation, the path forward becomes clear on its own. This allows for unilateral action. You don't need your partner's permission to change how you show up, and you don't need their consent to be more attractive or to set firmer boundaries. When you change your own behavior, the dynamic of the entire relationship is forced to shift in response. By focusing on your own growth independently, the fate of the relationship, whether it thrives or ends, resolves itself naturally, without the need for a compromised mediator.